Thank you for joining us today on the last session, Thursday, the 28th of May. Pastor Jeff Dowdy, Pastor Reese have joined us this week in answering some questions about reopening our churches. There's just various ideas, and I know you have ideas concerning your context and what the reopening should look like. We're covering some very basic thoughts and questions, but every week we learn something very valuable, something new every week. And so, Chris, let's talk about these questions right off the bat here as we close out this week. Tell us a little bit about what measures that your leadership at Enka Baptist has thought about in protecting seniors.
Thank you, Perry. Our, like most congregations, our congregation, more than 50% of them are senior adults. I would venture to say that probably half of them probably will not be coming back to the church until we're way past the first probably month or two of being able to come back together and worship. But when we do, we'll have the hand sanitizer stations, and many of them will probably be wearing masks, and we'll encourage social distancing. A lot of the things that are happening now are to protect those senior adults, and we'll continue to do so. We in the congregational survey that we sent out, we asked about if many would be interested in the virtual sermons continuing on even after we do start meeting in the sanctuary again, and we had several that did indicate that they probably would not be back for maybe a month or two after we start meeting again, and so we will continue the virtual sermons to continue to minister to them while they're at home.
That's great. Just out of curiosity, in your survey, did anyone respond that they wouldn't be back till there was a vaccine?
I do not believe we had any that said that.
All right, just out of curiosity.
We did have one that came back and said that they didn't think that we needed to meet anytime soon.
Okay.
And that's okay. They're
That's
not comfortable with that. That's okay.
That's right. So, well, we know the two ordinances of the Baptist Church is the Lord's Supper, the Lord's table, as well as baptism. Have you given any thought as to how you would observe those ordinances in the days ahead?
One of the things we're having to learn is flexibility and trying to do things like we've never done them before. So when it pertains to the Lord's Supper, we have discussed having the elements out on the table and letting the congregation come up, one by one and get the elements and then return to their seats. Those who maybe physically may have a hard time coming and doing that, we would find a way to assist them. But doing the Lord's Supper the way that we had been doing it probably will not be able to happen for quite a while. As for baptism, I had a great instructor tell me one time, never be afraid to answer the question by saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah.
We have not really discussed as leadership about baptism yet. I've heard several pastors mention a few ideas, but I don't know that I have a good answer yet.
And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to that. It's just going to have to be that which would provide safety to the candidate, so that they would feel comfortable with it, and whether that would be one person, one pool of water, and the one who's doing the baptism with a mask. We'll figure that out together as we move through this reopening. So, Chris, let me just ask you, last of all here in this session, through this pandemic, this time of self-isolation, this time of being with family more than normally we have time to be, this time of being with the Lord, in really an intense manner during this time, learning new ideas and new things about virtual sermons and putting everything online and working so hard to do that well for our people. What have you learned? What has God taught you about Reese?
Well, one of the things I've learned is I used to think I was a pretty patient person, and I've learned during a lot of time at home with my kids that I have a lot to learn in that area. But in all seriousness, the family time has been unbelievable. Being able to spend as much time with my daughters over the last 7-8 weeks has been fantastic. I experienced probably what a lot of people have. Sometimes you get too busy and you miss out on a lot of things, and I've always tried to pride myself on spending a lot of time with my children, but I have been able to spend a lot of time with them, and we have enjoyed some great conversations. We've enjoyed some great Bible studies and time together at home. We've gotten out and we've run together. We've practiced softball in the backyard together. It's been great. I found that in my own private devotion time, I find that has been a lot less rushed than what it would have been prior to the pandemic. It's been a lot more relaxed and stress-free. I've had to learn a lot about technology that I never thought I would have to learn before. But you learn a lot about yourself during this time, it's for sure.
Absolutely. Chris, thank you for joining us this week, and we appreciate your ministry and the ministry of Enka Baptist Church. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're closing out session 4 today on Thursday, May the 28th. We're so grateful that you're here. Dr. Jeff Dowdy is joining me, pastor at First Baptist Church in Swannanoa. First of all, Jeff, how do you perceive it at Swannanoa First Baptist that you might go an extra mile to protect the health of the most vulnerable or the senior adults?
So we've had a couple thoughts on that. First of all, we'll be encouraging them that masks are okay. I think some people might come to the church and feel like, well, should I even wear one? But we want to encourage them to do that. Secondly, we haven't gotten to services yet, so we don't know if this is going to happen. But we've asked in our survey whether they would feel comfortable having a seniors only service, so they could kind of have just vulnerable, kind of like doing at the grocery stores a couple days a week, just have a vulnerable sort of people's service. And we kind of had mixed reviews on that. Some people were like, yeah, that sounds great. Others were like, oh, we'd like to see everybody else. Yeah. So we'll see how that kind of plays itself out. But then also with Sunday school, trying to encourage them to get into smaller groups and distance away from one another. I think a lot of our seniors are those who are like, and thank goodness for this, they were raised in a day and time when the church is open, we're supposed to be there. We're trying to give them some permission that it's okay to stay home if you feel like you're sick or you feel like you're scared to be there. Sure. And so we're trying to help them out in that way.
Do you anticipate continuing the live stream or the YouTube or Facebook Live?
We had been streaming our services for years now, so it's nothing that caught us new. We have done a few tweaks to it to make sure it's really good for the at-home viewer. One of the things we're going to be treating it as used to, the online was, I was preaching to the room that was full, and then the online viewer was kind of just looking in, kind of viewing in. Now they're an integral part of the service. So it's more like having a studio audience, and then there is the other part of the audience. So as I preach, as I scan the room, I'll also be looking right into the camera because they're going to be such an integral part of the church. We don't want them to feel like they're staying at home and missing out. And I think that'll be a big challenge for us going forward. But yeah, we plan to continue our online services as we've been doing.
Okay, thank you. Our 2 ordinances we observe in Baptist churches, the Lord's Supper and baptism. I know you've given some thought as to how you could lead the congregation in observance of those ordinances. Share with us about what changes you might see in the future.
So we've kind of talked a little bit about this, and Lord's Supper is one of those items that's so integral to the church for us to remember what Christ has done for us. Yeah. We don't want to just say, well, we're not going to do it anymore. Exactly. But also we want to be very careful with it. So we're probably the first time we come back to this, we want to get our services established. The first time we have communion, we plan to do the prepackaged, the cracker and the juice in one container, and then be able to have people when they come in take their own at that time. Future down the road, we're going to have to look and see how that works, and then what we can do to try to help that process going forward. We've done Lord's Supper very different in different ways at the church. People have come forward and gotten their elements. People have sat, we've passed the plate. So we'll try to figure out how best that's going to take place in the future. But initially, we're looking at the prepackaged cracker and
Okay.
juice together.
Yes. Baptism.
So baptism is one of those things where I know Chris had said earlier, we kind of are waiting for those moments where we're going to be baptizing. I think the days of baptizing lots of people in one day may be gone for a while. So it may be baptism one Sunday and then draining, refilling, and going back the next Sunday. We may be doing that more rather than having so many in one day. But it's definitely going to be an issue we have to cross when we get there as we have baptisms come up.
Exactly. One last question. Through this pandemic, in the time of isolation and working remotely at home, it's been different for all of us. It's been a kind of a fresh opportunity for us to spend time with the Lord and pray through this pandemic for our people and for the gospel going out around the world. But how is this pandemic? What have you learned about Jeff Dowdy through this pandemic?
I learned I love my family. We love being around each other, and this season, as I mentioned a few days ago, would have been very busy for us, extremely busy, the spring season. And without having some of those nighttime events, we've had a lot of time to spend together, and that's been wonderful. So on a personal basis, I really have appreciated this season. My son is a junior going into his senior year. We don't have many more years of having that at-home time. So it's been very special for us. I think professionally, as a pastor, it's been hard. I'll just be straight honest with you. It's been hard. I miss my people. I miss being around them. I miss seeing them. I miss the joys of ministry. I miss having the opportunity, and yes, sometimes it's busy, but I miss that opportunity of going when they're in need. Hospital visits have been non-existent. Opportunities to be around people in mourning, like if they've had a funeral, we just haven't been able to have those. So that's been hard. It's been one of those seasons where I've really had to go, okay, Lord, what are you trying to teach me about this? And maybe it's just to teach me how much I appreciate my people that God has given me at First Baptist Swannanoa, that I really do love them as an under shepherd of Christ, and I look forward to the days of being around them more and just enjoying the fellowship we're going to have, looking forward to the future.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate Chris Reese and Jeff Dowdy sharing with us this week. This is our 4th week in the reopening series. We hope that you'll join us next week as we present the 5th reopening series. And so you're very well aware by now that you are given the opportunity to gather again. We're not sure what exactly those numbers will look like. We all await what the governor might share with us as he reviews the different phases. We're in phase 1 now, hopefully in phase 2, getting there. And so we just, we don't know what it might look like. And answering all of these questions every week in the month of May, it has been tremendous to hear the different thoughts and perspectives of our pastors in Buncombe County. As wonderful it is to read material, well-written material with lots of information, as wonderful it is to be able to hear podcasts and to hear webinars. It is also just as wonderful to hear men who serve alongside of you here in Buncombe County. And one thing that stands out, as different as it's going to look when we all gather again in every local church, is that everyone that spoke to us is highly concerned about your health and your safety. And so everything that's being planned and being prayed over and thought through is so that we might corporately gather again, but do so in a very wise and safe manner. Thank you for joining us this week as we've continued our series on reopening.